let me tell you a story. This story involves 2 paintings, and it's gonna tell you a little bit about your niche. Okay, just follow me. So if you're new to online, stuff, then you may not know what a niche is. But as soon as you start looking up any kind of business advice, everybody's gonna be like, you must define your niche. You need to have a niche. Okay. A niche is basically, you might hear people call it niche. It's niche. A niche is basically your little corner of the internet and what your brand represents. So it's like, what are you selling and who are you selling it to? That's really all it is. And people can be really fussy about it. I was having this discussion with my mom because my mom is opening an Etsy shop where she's doing like sewing stuff, mostly patterns, some like ready to go stuff, that she was really struggling because she's getting all this advice about like, oh, you need to have a niche and blah, 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 blah. And from the get-go, I was like, Mom, you already have a niche. Like, her niche is like coastal Georgia. She has a kayaking quilt and she has mermaid dolls and she has all these things. But she was really stressed about like, having her niche because people make such a big deal about it. But I want to tell you that you have permission to not stress about it. And then some easy ways to find your niche so that you can use that. So first of all, why we were talking about what a niche is. Why is a niche helpful? A niche is helpful because basically when you have a niche, it means that you have a certain thing that you're selling to a certain kind of person. So if you're doing, coastal Georgia, then most of your stuff's gonna be coastal Georgia, which means if I like coastal Georgia stuff, then I'm gonna be wanting to purchase that. But if I don't like coastal Georgia stuff, it means I'm not gonna want that, which is actually helpful because you get more of the people who want your stuff. South Carolina looks really similar to Georgia. And so, South Carolinians might also want to purchase the kayak quilt, and that's fine too. Basically, your niche just helps people to find things. And the idea is when you go into that store, the online shop, that the things in there are all great for you. For example, y'all know I love J. Crew. This dress is from J. Crew. And usually when I go to J. Crew, I want all the things in the whole store. Okay? Because that's my niche. It's people who dress like Becca go there and shop there, and those are the people that they're targeting. And so that is part of their niche, is people like me, and people like me go in there and like all the things. So anyway, in all of this stress about making your niche, my mom and I often make paintings. This has nothing, it was not, excuse you. My mom and I like to get together and we do like crafting and painting and stuff like that, which, might seem really nerdy to like go and paint with my mom, but we have a great time and it's fun. So we were painting the other day and we just picked like a painting tutorial and usually follow it. And so we picked one that was really cute by this girl, and her name's Seabrook Ring. She has beautiful paintings and we wanted to like kind of emulate her style a little bit. So anyway, we're painting and we get to the end of painting and this is what mine looks like. Don't judge it because I'm an amateur, but I thought it looked pretty good. I also think it looks absolutely nothing like the tutorial. And it also looks absolutely nothing like my mom's version. In fact, for some reason, it reminds me of Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, so I'm probably just making that up. If you're from Ireland, you're probably like, Becca, what are you talking about? But for some reason, it just makes me think of Ireland. So I told my mom that. As we painted this, okay? I mean, I still like it. I think it's pretty. There we go. It does not look like coastal Georgia, which it was supposed to. So a couple weeks later, my mom decided she wanted to make bigger versions of the same kind of painting. And so I was like, oh, this will be great. I can fix the things that I didn't love about this painting because some things were still a little off for me. There's still some things that even now looking at it, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. I wanted it to look more like coastal Georgia. So I was like, I can make it look less like Ireland and more like coastal Georgia. And I will show you the painting. It's not done. And here's the new painting. Y'all. I mean, not exactly the same, obviously. And this one is very, very, very not finished at all. Mostly because I got frustrated and was like, we're gonna deal with this later. But like, y'all, look at that. It's very similar. And it still doesn't look like the tutorial, and it still doesn't look like my mom's version. So in all of that, the reason I'm telling you this is the reason actually I told her this too, because she's been all stressed about her niche. I was like, Mom, I didn't set out to make these 2 paintings look the same. But I did similar things, I used similar materials, and I am the same person. And because of that, they turned out very, very, very similar, even though the one's not done. Because that's my niche. Okay, apparently paintings that are supposed to look like Georgia and instead look like Ireland. Now, is that what all of my paintings look like? No, but even if you look at all the paintings I've ever done, they all have similar qualities. I go for similar colors. I use similar brush strokes. Even when I'm following a tutorial, it still looks like Becca because it is Becca. And in doing that, I have created my little painting niche, which doesn't really matter because, you know, no one sees them unless they're in my craft room, but it has created like my own little painting niche. And that's what happens in your store too. You make a product and then you make another product and you make another product. And then you look at them and you're like, huh, those are all pretty similar because you're the same person. You're coming at it with the same ideas and you're probably making things that are similar because you teach probably, you know, similar things. I teach elementary music, so all my stuff's elementary music. But in that, I've also found specific things that are more my niche than other people's niches. There are other people who do elementary music lessons and their stuff is different than mine, okay? Because I have my niche and they have theirs. And a lot of it is just what has come out of what I choose to make because I am me and that shines through. So don't be super stressed about like, you have to have the perfect niche, because it's probably gonna come in time. Now, if you're looking to, you know, figure out your niche just so you have some sort of idea of what's going on, I do have a couple things we wanted to talk about. The easiest thing to do to find your niche is just to make stuff, because the more stuff you make, the more you will develop that niche and you'll end up with stuff that's similar. I have a lot of Centers products, not because I set out and was like, my niche is Centers products, because I made a lot of Centers products because I was using them in my classroom and then they were selling, and so then I continued to make them and it kind of became part of my niche, is having a lot of Centers products. And so that is something that is specific to me, but I didn't go out to make it. So the easiest way to find your niche is just to make stuff, and after you make stuff, some of it will end up looking similar, like those paintings that I did. If you do want to be a little more strategic about it, I would suggest that you are a little more strategic about it. What I would do is just sit down and take a whole sheet of paper and write all of your ideas down. All the things that could potentially go into your store. Just write and write and write and write and write. Don't think about it, don't edit them, nothing, just write. Then go through with a couple of different markers and highlight them by category. So maybe you highlight all of the writing activities in purple, and then you highlight all the math activities in green. And you might see similarities in that, and that's where you want to start with your niche. If you realize, huh, a whole bunch of my stuff is like exciting writing activities, then that's gonna be your niche, at least at first. And so that way you know what you're making. And in that, you can start thinking, okay, what kind of people are gonna buy my products? For me, it's elementary music teachers, but it's elementary music teachers who want things that are easy to use and engaging for their students that are gonna help them read music, okay? That's Becca's niche. So yours might be similar to that. And in that, you can kind of think through like colors and branding and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have to stress a ton about it. Just, you know, go with what you want, and you can change it later. So if you want to be more strategic, do that. Now, the other thing is, if you want to be more strategic and to make more money faster, I would suggest that you make the most similar products first. So if you're doing engaging writing activities, make similar products first. So make a product, make something similar, make something similar, make something similar, so that you have a couple of products that people can purchase. And so you'll start attracting people who are interested in those things. And as time goes on, you can start to branch out a little bit more. So maybe you start with like engaging writing prompts, and then you go to more like essays, or maybe you do like grammar or other things that are kind of related, but they're not super related. Okay, and so you can start to branch out. But if you want to be the most successful as soon as possible, start with the most related things and then branch out a little bit. And as you start to branch out, use your data, look at your data and see what's selling, so that you know what's going to continue selling. Whatever's selling, make more of that. And that's gonna naturally create your niche. It's just, you know, make a list of all the things you wanna do, categorize them, start with the things that are most related, go a little bit out from there, and then make what's selling. Whatever's selling, that's what you're gonna make. And that's gonna make you have a niche that is cohesive and helpful and not super stressful. What about when you start moving away from things? Because this can be scary if you're like, oh, well, I make this kind of product. Some of my most profitable products have been products that have been just a little bit outside of what I normally make. So I'm always here for you trying something new, but it can be scary. And so here's what I ask myself when I'm gonna make something new. Number one is, who is buying it? So if this product is something that people who shop in my store are gonna buy, then it's great. You know, if you're making writing stuff and then you make reading stuff, people are probably gonna buy that because they teach writing and reading, or they might teach writing and history, or, you know, like those kind of things. So there's, to think of like, is the same teacher gonna buy all of these things? And if the answer is yes, like totally go for it. If the answer is no, then think a little more on it. If you have totally different teachers purchasing those things, then it may not be the best option to put into your store. You know, if you have like math and then you have like theater, those are really, really different. And so I wouldn't put those in the same store. But if you have, you know, math and science, those go together pretty well. So you can put those in the same store because the same kind of teachers are going to be teaching those things. So think of it in terms of who is purchasing, and is the same person going to purchase both of these things. The other thing is, how similar is it? So for example, you know, math and science, they're pretty similar. You can put those both in there because they're pretty similar. If you have, you know, writing activities and then grammar activities, those are very similar, so they're going to work. So just think, is it similar, and is the same person going to purchase them? If it's going to be a totally different person, then you might want to think twice about doing that, because that would be outside of your niche. Your niche is more of a person than it is a thing. So think, is the same person going to buy these things? And if the answer is yes, then totally go for it. And if the answer is no, I would think a little bit more before you go ahead and post it. And we can talk more about getting outside of your niche and having 2 stores if you want to talk about those things. So let me know that, not in the comments because I'm not going to read them, but you can send me a message over on becca.e.davis. That's where we talk all things TBT on Instagram. And I'm much better at replying over there than I am at replying to comments, because you know, I have the wonderful problem of having so many comments and messages that I can't keep up with them, which is great, but also means that I just can't keep up with them. So I do apologize. But if you want to get a hold of me, go send me a message on Instagram at becca.e.davis, and we can chit chat all the TPT things, and let me know what you need for niches and all that kind of stuff. And I hope I relieved some of your stress, because some internet people get like super fussy about this, and it really doesn't need to be that fussy, especially because it will probably naturally evolve. Okay, so don't stress, go forth and make products, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.